Bioshock Infinite. My favorite Bioshock game. Reasons I like it more than Bioshock 1 and 2. It's really pretty, better graphics. You're not trapped underwater. Elizabeth. Booker DeWitt. I don't know, there's just a lot it had going on for it, and it was easy to follow. With Bioshock 1 and 2, the whole time I was playing, I had no idea what was going on, why. You get it from a general perspective, like, oh, you know, this one guy had this idea, became a thing. I mean, it was just an escape. It's like the whole living in Mars, space, just somewhere to be that's not Earth. It's just we're all craving that we all want what we can't have thing. Somewhere new, different, change. And the whole underwater thing worked. But personally, I don't like it. I just try to look at the whole like big picture. With Infinite, you're up in the air, you're getting plenty of oxygen, maybe too much. High in the sky. The reason why I realize there's a lot of fans that don't like Infinite, and I get it. You know, there's no big daddies, it's not what Bioshock was originally going for, but that's kind of the beauty of it, is that it's took such a different, literally the opposite direction from 1 and 2, and catered to people just like me who was like, didn't really dig the whole underwater thing, and it was hard to follow what was going on, and random, weird, strange, crazy chaos. It's a lot. And here it's just like, it's just a good game. There wasn't really a minute that I didn't enjoy it. There's a lot of, it's really festive, it's really alive, really colorful, vibrant. It was just kind of like a happier, fun little time. And I like dark games. I like scary games. I wouldn't say Bioshock's scary. It's considered scary, like a horror type thing, but I don't really look at it that way. But this was fun. I actually ended up finishing this before 1 and 2 because it definitely did seem the most appealing to me. It was just a little bit more grounded and a little bit more grounded. A little bit. I don't know, there's a cute girl. It just has a lot going for it, just like Bioshock 1 and 2 did, but just in a better, bigger way. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love when franchises do this. Like, they'll go literally above and beyond to make something great from something that started off so small. I wouldn't say Bioshock's small, but it's, you know, especially going back to 1, it just felt so condensed and so like tight, and it's just different. It doesn't mean that like 1 and 2 is better or worse, or it's just different. There's an audience for this and there's an audience for the older stuff. It just sucks when things have to get divided up like that. Like, I prefer Infinite, and it is better and the best, but that definitely doesn't mean like I hate the other two. And when people talk about 3, Infinite, it's just like they just it leaves a bad. It's I don't really get that because you know if you're hating something specifically in a franchise that's put out for us, are you even a fan at all? You know, those are like on the fence type of people where like, I like it, but I don't like all of it. That, why not? It doesn't make any sense because it all comes from the same place. It's just, but I mean, whatever, right? This is just more of my way of doing things, and like, whatever the latest, biggest, greatest release is that's out there, usually that's the one that appeals to me the most. I don't know if it's like a new school thing or just me, or like, I know it's not a traditional way to go about things, but I guess I just take that whole living for today kind of thing at heart, because that's what this game almost symbolizes and really pushes out there, is that, you know, we literally live in the heavens. We have ascended, we have rose above, we've been better. We're not only just on Earth or under Earth, but above it. And like all the cultism, the politics, a lot of things that Bioshock symbolizes, a lot of symbolism. That's what Infinite's really good at, is bringing out that like cultish feel of kind of the message they're trying to send within the Bioshock series, is that these type of followings and these people that are put in power and tyrants and corporates and the industry and like a really big rebellious kind of thing. And I'm not sure how many people really quite see that, but this game does so well of bringing all that out and making it very, very obvious. Because you'll get little hints of this stuff in the older games, but not much of it, not nearly enough to like really process it. Or I mean, it's a pretty common game plot franchise story to have, is a lot of culty stuff. It's just such a like safe option to go to because it adds all the elements there, the mystery, the thrills, the suspense, adrenaline, the twists and turns, and you just can't really go wrong with picking some kind of occult thing to have it be like a main thing in the writing and the story. Yeah, this one's great because it like, it's everything that Bioshock 1 and 2 could have been. Like, it led up to this point for a reason. It's very pure, it's very very heavenly, and I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I just don't like underwater. I made that very apparent. And like underwater levels in games, like they're hard. They're not easy, they're not fun, they're suffocating, all these things. And like personally, I have like a thing with that taste of freedom and air and oxygen and being able to breathe and just that's our lifeline. That's our Do I want to be stuck underground? No. Do I want to be stuck in some underwater city? No. Bring me to wherever these guys are going. That's where I'd rather be. Or at least for now, hey, we got planet Earth. Fine, I'll stay on the surface all day, every day. It's just like tight spaces, and I just don't like that, like claustrophobic stuff. And you play this game and you feel so like you can move around and you can kind of go wherever you want, really explore and see everything, and you're not trapped in some dark, depressing, stressful situation constantly. But there is a dark side to the game, like they do a good job at contrasting, like, hey, you're in a pretty bright area, but there's a lot of dark things happening as you go along. As in, like, emotionally, psychologically, stuff like that, mentally. So, that's what this game does really well, is, you know, light and dark, good and evil. And this fits for someone like me too, because it's kind of funny how they take basically the foundation. It's big. It's pretty wild, but yeah, personally, this game really speaks to me a lot more than the other ones. Like, it's fun. There's like a couple things I don't like, but they're not really big enough where it's like a big deal. Yeah, cutscenes look pretty good.
5,000 feet. 10,000 feet. 15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
Yeah, this game's great. Definitely has a good replayable factor to me. Once again, like, the whole Bioshock series is kind of a weird one for me, but I feel like I played this twice, but I don't really remember. But even with that said, like, it's definitely a game I wouldn't mind playing again. I don't know, it's just a good time. Like, again, I'm not saying that Bioshock 1 and 2 are bad. That's what starts you into the series. That's the entry point. It does what it does because it's supposed to. But this is like the next evolution. This is Bioshock. They may as well just call it Bioshock Advanced. And I just love the name, Infinite. It's a big word. Endless. Literally in the sky, the heavens. It took such a big, serious, but small, condensed game and turned it into like this even bigger, wider, cooler thing. I will say though that the bad things, there's not a lot of it, and it's just being picky. Like, I can think of a few games just on the top of my head where it's like, there's just like little turnoffs to me, and it's mostly like mechanic based or something like that. Yeah, one thing I don't like is the melee weapon. And to be fair, I didn't really touch on it before, but the melee weapons in the melee weapon in Bioshock 1 I didn't really like. I was like, dude, you're gonna give me a freaking pipe wrench? That's just so lame. Like, what a lame excuse for a melee weapon. Give me a knife or something, man. I don't want no stupid freaking wrench. Like, I get like a wrench could be a common item that'd just be sitting around and, ooh, I'll pick this up. But that's exactly my problem, is that It's just kind of a lazy excuse for some kind of starter weapon or just a weapon in general, like a wrench. Come on. Then here it's the sky shot hook thing. And it's just this awkward thing, and I just don't like it. Dude, give me a gun, man. I don't think I really use the melee much. At least in 2, they had the freaking drill thing. That was cool. I don't know, it's just small little things like that that kind of bug me, especially like when you're using it to like have it be a part of your arsenal, but in like a gear type of way, not really like a weapon. I just don't look at things like that as a weapon. When they try to, especially when they try to have you use it as a weapon and some kind of mechanic for traveling, getting around, like hooking onto railings and traveling that way, and it's just kind of lame. Like there's a game I can think of with a similar tool, but that's the thing, it's a tool. Weapons can be tools as well, I get that, but just have them separated. It's just me. Yeah, that's literally the one thing I just didn't like, which is, I mean, it's such a small thing because, well, it's a big part of the game, which is the problem, but there's enough else going on where you can kind of ignore that. I'm just not a big fan of like grappling hooks and like, you know, it's like, dude, if you're gonna, that's such a lame way to move around. I have that same problem with like climbing and parkour stuff. I'm not a fan. Because a lot of the time it just won't really fit into the game, or like it's just kind of this awkward random thing they kind of shoved in there, and I just think there could have been a better way. But because it's almost like something you could tell that they kind of struggled with, or was obvious enough to where they wanted to do this thing, whatever thing that matched their world and what they're doing, and they just kind of like, well, let's just give them a hook shot. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, give me like ladders and stairs and elevators and get that slingshot shit out of here. I'm sorry. But yeah, there's enough going on with the game otherwise. Mechanics, weapons, all that I just had to kind of shove it under the rug. Because after playing as many games as I have, there really is no such perfect thing as like a perfect game. Like even as close to this as it could be, there's always gonna be like one thing in every game, at least for the most part, that's just some kind of a turnoff to any one person. And it could be because of who knows what, it's just a personal experience or whatever it may be. And it's kind of silly to like be that picky, but at the same time, it's being that picky that kind of separates you from just being able to play whatever and don't really care. And no one ever said it was a bad thing to be picky and all that. That's totally fair. You know, just like in life, you have to kind of assess situations and risk, think about the risks you're taking, and I guess it ultimately comes down to like some sort of survival instinct, you know? It's like, if I was in this world, would I really want this tool as like my way to get around? There's gotta be another way, right? There's always another way. And sure, if I have to, given the scenario, fine. But it's definitely not, like, I would love to be in this world, as nice and terrifying as it is. But just, please, don't give me a hook shot. But, Yeah, with that in mind, I mean, it did add to the immersive aspect of it all. Flying around, launching around, jumping from this place to that place. I mean, that's the thing. Thinking about it in real life, it is pretty scary. Dude, you're what, thousands of feet in the air? I don't even know. And this hookshot thing is like, holy, they better be damn good tools, man, because if that thing malfunctions for some reason, human error, you're gone, you're dead. I don't trust it. I'm sorry. But it's funny though, because it's like, well, okay, look around you. You're in a floating city, miles and miles in the sky. If you fall, you're dead. And not even like if you fall, like something could fail, like the engine's keeping everything up in the air, or like you know, it may be a part of the city, it may be some sort of transport vehicle. That's terrifying. Like, I say that the being in the air is better than the water, but honestly, at least when you're under the water, like, you may or may not have an option to swim up to the surface as deep as you are, or there's precautions in place. Here, it's like, I don't know if there is any. Dude, if you fall over, you're gonna be falling for a while. I don't even know if you would make it to the ground. That's scary. So, I don't know, it's funny, because, like, I'm terrified of heights. But I think I'm terrified of water more. Because heights are scary, but I don't think you really think about it until, like, you're actually up there. But we don't really, most people don't really just go up there. We're kind of stuck down here. And all that we can really experience, for the most part, is what it would be like to be deep underwater, and that's all we see for the most part is water. Or we see the sky too, but it's so beyond our reach that very few people ever get to fly, or let alone go to space. Very select people who are trained to handle being that high up in the air, and you know, most of us just don't have it in us. But yeah, a lot of cool locations, a lot of fun festivities, a lot of exploring, a lot of looting, as usual. Yeah, it's just fun. Cool weapon upgrades. I mean, just really, they carried a lot over. But the only things that are ever really gonna change throughout each game is the overall story and most of the same weapons, but maybe they look different. Different characters, that's a big one. Yeah, just more Bioshock, really. This game is almost a thing of its own, though, that if you for some reason played this, and I don't know why that would even happen, but if you just happen to not know what the other two games even are, because if you're gonna come upon Bioshock Infinite nowadays, it's gonna be bundled up with the other games for the most part. I think they are still sold separately, obviously, but like, I mean, basically, but this game is almost a thing all of its own. Like, you wouldn't even, Like, if you played this before the other ones, you wouldn't have even made that connection at all. Like, you'd see some slight similarities, but that's about it. Or that's the thing, if you played the first two and then this, like, obviously, yeah, you're gonna be expecting more or less of the same thing or whatever, but that's what's cool about, like, going backwards is that, like, some Benjamin Button kind of shit, like, you get to really see it all unfold between your eyes, or between the lines, and, like, from the inside in, just all that cool opposite stuff. Yeah, this one was good. Aside from just simply exploring and things like that, obviously a big part of that was the gameplay.
The vulture has come to lead our lamb astray!
Move it! Son of a bitch is in the park! Cut it off! Let him escape!
Which was still very arcadey. Got the usual abilities. Yeah, this one was fun. I keep saying fun because it's like the only way to really explain this game. There's just such a big comparison to 1 and 2 that... And it's not like this is the first thing that's done this either. Like, when you're talking the third movie in, the third game in, whatever, like 3, for anything to get up to 3, it's a big deal, because things can tank. And a lot of games or movies may not make it past the first one, let alone 2. Like, there's a lot that goes into this stuff that only the industry really knows about to, like, its fullest extent. And the fact that this got 3 games, it's a big deal. You know, oh, Bioshock 1 and 2 did so well. Let's put a 3rd game out. Whether this was all pre-planned or sporadic, it's just nice to see that. It's nice to see that a franchise that you could begin to latch yourself onto and attach yourself to it. It's just nice. Like, that's why this is so good as it is because, like, it's for the fans. We deserve it. There'd be no game without people playing it. That's the point. That's why these things come out. No different from movies. If we didn't like it, you know, it wouldn't be made. And I feel kind of bad because there's a lot of underrated stuff that I don't think gets the attention that it deserves. But at the same time, for what we do get, the things that make it and get more of it, great. That's definitely not a bad thing. So that's why this one is so good. I'm really trying to, like, have this one's back and defend it as much as I can because I realize there can be a black sheep with everything, but the thing is, there doesn't have to be. That's the problem. Because it's like, okay, granted, if this was my job, it'd be pretty hard. I guess that's a big job for one person to handle, and that's why usually it's a number of multiple people, teams, that have to come up with something and come to some kind of vote and conclusion, and that's why things are done the way that they are done. Because it's more, and then when one person says out loud and expresses their feelings and thoughts and opinions about something so specific that took so much more than just themselves to actually create fully, get it even off the ground. It always becomes like a battle, you know, like the people or a handful. And it's like, it's a battle you're not gonna win. Most things are won by a majority vote, and people that decide to be in the minority, they're gonna lose. But that's pretty subjective because that kind of argument and statement could be made in many different kinds of ways. Yeah, if I had to recommend a Bioshock game out of all three, this would be the one to start with. And then go back, because sometimes there's a time for save the best for last, and there's a time for save the worst for last. And that's where I'm at with this one. I just think Infinite has so much more, like, it makes you want to know more and find out more. What the hell's going on? You want to see it come to an end. You want to see the conclusion. You know that you got started in something so much bigger than yourself. And that's kind of what the older games do, but they don't do it nearly to this extent. And that's what I love about things too, is like when you can pretend that you are this person or whatever in this game, the main character, and these big things that are happening, that's why there's, in a lot of games, there's a lot of life in it. There's a lot of people, everyday average citizens, going about their day and their job and their little measly lives. And you're this character who is so much above all that, and you're in the shit, you're in the ranks. Higher up, you're important to the story and the world that is happening at the very current time in your universe, and it's so cool to be put yourself in those shoes. And like with the older games, I just didn't really vibe with that kind of context. Like, I just kind of got thrown in and I was the guy. It was such a bare minimum kind of like understanding, and at least here it was so much more straightforward. Like, hey, you are a simple dude, but you know, there's a meaning to your life, there's a purpose, a destiny, fate. And that's kind of part of the human experience, is having a purpose and having a fate and all that. So yeah, this game did a lot of things right. Other than the hookshot thing, that I may as well just count that as like a 5% thing. 95% of this game is great. I love it. It's fun. It was a really good way to tie up whatever it is that they were doing. I don't know what their plans are for more Bioshock. I have no idea. But this was kind of a good summary and a good conclusion to be like, alright, we're gonna go out with a bang. You know, the last entry in the trilogy and the collection, and we're gonna do it right and put out all the stops. Because yeah, you could argue that this game has the most twists and turns, has the most plot, has the most development, everything. I think if the game's gonna be known for anything, it's gonna be known for that. And the other ones are known for that, but I wouldn't say nearly to this kind of extreme level. I just love that complexity, like, simple but complex. I've always been big about fusion and hybrid and like mixtures of things because there's always two sides to every story. And like in the older games, I felt like it was so kind of subpar, like one trick pony kind of thing. Like I do believe in less is more, but at the same time, I wouldn't say more is less necessarily. It's just a wider range of view. You know, you go from this to this, so it's good. But yeah, Bioshock 3, also known as Bioshock Infinite. I mean, it's hard to argue with it too, especially when it's not just a numbered sequel game. Like, they decided to put a whole name on it. Like, that's a big deal. I actually like games that do that because that's when you know that there's a statement to be made. You're expecting this kind of big show. They could have been lazy about it and just put 3, but no, they put Infinite. I got a lot of respect for that. Would you kindly?